Welcome to Charter Local Edition. We are coming to you from Washington, D.C. My name is Brad Pomerance, and we are joined by Dan Kildee. He is a member of the U.S. Congress representing the state of Michigan, a freshman member. So how's your new job, sir?
Well, I like it. You know, it's frustrating. There are times when I just have to kind of pound the wall. But, you know, it's still the greatest democratic institution ever imagined, and it's great to be a part of it.
And you had been a local elected in the Flint area, so you worked in government. Talk to me about those changes, those distinctions.
Well, the biggest difference is back home in local government, you make policy, you implement it, and then you defend it at the grocery store the next day. Here, it often feels like the distance between the policy that we make, both in time and space, is so great that we don't often have to deal with the immediacy of the decisions that we make. And I think people who have served in local government, I think often understand that connection much better than those who maybe came from somewhere else.
And I know that Flint was hit pretty hard during the recent recession. I know that the unemployment rate, while coming down, is still stubbornly high.
Right.
And you're looking to work with folks who may still need unemployment insurance.
Right.
Recently, you headed up a very significant number of your fellow members to write a letter looking to seek the extension of unemployment benefits. Where do we stand, sir?
Well, we're just trying to get a vote. Right now, we have 161 members that signed the request letter that Tammy Duckworth and I, Tammy from Illinois, that we put together. We just want to have a yes or no vote on extending federal unemployment benefits. Typically, it takes about 37 weeks for somebody to find a new job, but in some states like Michigan, at 20 weeks, you're cut off of unemployment. So what we're trying to do is create a more realistic bridge between the job that somebody had to their next job so that they don't lose their house, lose their car, lose their family, whatever.
The challenge, though, is your friends in the Republican caucus don't seem to be willing to move forward on this issue. So where do you go with that as a member of the party in the minority?
Well, I think we have to appeal to the reasonable, thoughtful number of Republicans, and it's a much bigger number than what some would think. You know, most members of Congress have the same kind of constituency that I have. And there's no such thing as a Republican or a Democratic unemployed person. They're unemployed. And in those districts where there is high unemployment represented by Republicans, they're feeling the same pressure I am. The issue is at the leadership level. So I think if we can appeal to enough of those Republicans who really feel like we've got to do something about it, maybe we can get something done.
If I can ask you, if I may, on the question of minimum wage, it kind of all is tied in together.
Right.
And a lot of discussion about whether it's time to increase the federal minimum wage. Right. Talk to us about that conversation, that discussion, because arguments cut both ways. I mean,
they do, and I'm a co-sponsor of HR 1010, which over a few years would increase the federal minimum wage to $10.10. So there's sort of two conversations. One, should we have a minimum wage in this country, or should we just let the market do what it does? You know, I'm one that believes that there ought to be a basic level of decency below which no worker should ever be allowed to fall. So if one believes there should be a minimum wage, the question is, what should it be? And I think most folks believe that it should be a wage that does not put a family of four for a 40-hour worker below the federal poverty guideline.
And what's interesting about that element is if someone falls below that guideline, even if they're working full time, they become eligible for social services, which can be a cost to the government, which can be a drag on the government's budget. And so I'm wondering, how does that argument play out, especially with folks that may be concerned about the deficit?
Well, that's the right point to make, because this is all connected. When we have people living at the minimum wage and receiving benefits, what ends up happening is that the entirety of the federal government and its taxpayers are subsidizing employers who aren't willing to pay a decent wage.
His name is Dan Kildee, member of the U.S. Congress from the great state of Michigan. I'm Brad Pomerance. It's Charter Local Edition.